in the later days of the currency, and we're starting to see that, they're trying to fix the theft that's occurred, right? They're trying to fix the inflation that's now allegedly 5.1%, which the inflation, tell me what's gone up by 5% in the last year. Your grocery bill, it's probably gone up 20%. Your petrol bill's probably gone up 30%. The car you're driving around, probably gone up 20%. So if it's not theft, please explain to me, what is it, right? It's a theft of your money. It's a theft of your hard work, your efforts, the human labor that you've had to sacrifice to get that money. And, it's understanding that this is a game that's being played. They're trying to stop the inflation from going from 5% to 10% to 20% to 100% to 500% to 5 million%, right? And that's called a hyperinflation. But as they try and do this, the funny part is that the systems is going to implode, right? And what things in the system are we seeing implode? Well, we've seen shares in Netflix, they've fallen by 75%. So if you've got a superannuation fund and you've got money in super, it could be invested in the shares. That's where the money's going, is into these companies, right? Every stock market around the world, like looking at the time of recording this, the Dow Jones is falling about 1,000 points per day. So just put that into context. In the middle of the GFC, when the stock market crashed, so back in 2008, that big recession that was in the US, and we didn't really have it here in Australia, the Dow Jones, I think, dropped about 960 points in a day, and that's what triggered the collapse of the system, and they had to print all this money to get out of that. It took them a decade to get out of it. Well, it took them about 5 years to really get back to where it was. But they've become smarter than that. They've thrown the kitchen sink at that. We're now seeing 1,000 points in a day drop, and then it picks back up magically, right? And it's who's magically fixing this up, right? Who's the buyer to fix up these stock markets, to fix up the crashing markets out there? We've seen interest rates go up 25 basis points, which is only 0.25%. Remembering, interest rates haven't been up for a decade, 12 years here in Australia. They've only been coming down. As a matter of fact, probably all the people you're watching on TV and all the people you're taking advice out there and all the people from the financial planning space have never even seen a full cycle, right? They haven't even been doing it for 10 years, right? That's the interesting thing to see out there. But reality is that they try and increase the interest rate just 0.25%, and we've got Bitcoin crashing 30% in a week, right? We've got all markets around the world. Property market is slower because it's you don't just see it happen overnight. It's, stock sits there, someone will become more motivated, and then there's a spiraling effect. But as they have these issues that occur, it's going to affect other areas like builders not being able to build. So building companies are going broke. We're starting to see it. You go to your local shopping centre, go to your local Westfield or, whatever shopping centre is, a big box one, you've got a Kmart, a Woolworths, Coles, all that. Walk through it and think, how do these shops make money, right? Look at the shops and how many of them have those boards around them are boxed up with nothing in them, and they have pretty pictures painted on saying this store coming here soon, could you see your business here, leasing inquiries, whatever. And think to yourself, is this normal, right? It's a crash that we are seeing. How can they avoid the crash? They just print more money, and then everyone feels rich. They go and spend money, which is what we've seen for the last 2 years since 2020, and it's been a magical party, right? A lot of people had a lot of wealth, right? I actually felt poorer in the last 2 years than in any other time beforehand because my money doesn't buy me as much. But most people are feeling richer. And I have a shitload of assets that have gone up in value. I don't have to do anything. I just hold them and they go up in value. I was like, oh, wow, my laptop that used to be worth $3,000 for one of these is now worth $5,000 for one of these, right? Everything that you've got, your secondhand Datsun's gone up in value, your secondhand Toyota's gone up in value. So this system, the only way they can survive a massive economic disaster is by printing more currency. How long will that take? Well, it's been a week, right, of these rates. It has been a couple of months in the US. It's been a couple of months in places like Canada, the UK, and other sort of similar sort of countries that we interact with. And these countries are collapsing. Their economies are collapsing. So what do? They let it crash. Right? They just printed money to stop a crash, right? They're going to have to print more money. And that's why when you go to third world countries and you see a hamburger cost 250,000 of their currency, let's call it dollars, let's call it yen, let's call it whatever you want to call it. That's why when you see these currencies trading, right, and it's like, how did a burger become $250,000 of their money? It's because their currencies have crashed, right? It's all around the currency. It's not because you're a bad person, not because you're making silly decisions. It's that you've been sold a lie. And it's a lot to hear. It's a lot to understand. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to, I guess, reprogram yourself to go, shit, I've been lied to, right? The whole system, everything I've worked hard for is a scam. And then you go, okay, well, where can the truth be had? How can I play in this? And it becomes a more of a, okay, let's just do the steps that we need to do to survive this. And, to survive it is one thing. To fit inside the system, that's why 90% of people are just stuck inside this system, and they call it the rat race, because it's like the hamster wheel, just chasing and chasing and chasing. But you got that aspect of it. But when you take a step back, you remove yourself from the position, and you go, okay, I might sound like a fucking lunatic to you, right? And that's cool. Unsubscribe, don't like me, right? I might be talking sense, and I hope to, right? I hope to. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I think it's important to go, okay, this doesn't sound right, but let's think about it, right? Nothing else feels right that's around me. That's why at the start of this I said we're exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality, because the reality is that no one's coming to save you. The game is against all of us. But if you can understand how the game works, you can take a little bit of that personal sovereignty, a little bit of that personal freedom back, a little bit of that personal protection, so you can take care of yourself, take care of your family, and have a better choice and options in life rather than being forced into doing shit you don't want to do. So looking at that, you're going to see a lot of stuff out there, right? The media for 2 years has been, oh, this is great, that's great. It's like they've turned a switch and they go, okay, let's put all the negative stuff out there, right? Why are they doing this, right? They're trying to, there's a thing called quantitative easing and a thing called quantitative tightening. When you go through quantitative easing, they're printing money, they're making stimulus packages, all these things happening out there, everyone's feeling richer. When they go to quantitative tightening, they're taking that money back off the table. So there's less money floating around. Everyone's going to get poorer. But because they've printed so much money and they're going to have to take so much money off the table to have an impact, everyone's going to die. So they can't. So they're going to have to turn these printers on, and they're going to have to let the money just float away. And if you ask for my prediction of what I see in this course of the next 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, like people go, oh, I see so many people. Don't do this, guys. Just listen, understand it. If you don't understand it, well, then just think about it, right? Just think about it for a minute, right? Until you do understand it. What hurts me is that people are handing over their assets for money, right? Yes, if you're broke and you've got a financial situation that's fucked, I get it, right? You might need the money and you may have overextended yourself. Okay, maybe get rid of an asset, maybe get rid of something, right? But I see people that are just so caught up in this cycle and they're like, oh, I'm going to cash out now because the market's bad. Well, you could have cashed out in, the start of 2020 and you would have missed out on 2 years of growth. There's lots of things there that, a lot of people are just hoping and trading and playing in dollars. Dollars are not your friend. Dollars is your enemy, right? You want to own assets. That's the important part.